There's a lot of stuff in single-player games that we completely rely on. It's never different in any games. It always works the same way you expect. And then there's stuff that just is nothing like that. That's what I want to talk about. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on Game Ranks, 10 things single-player gamers never trust. Starting off with number 10, it's autosaves. Yeah. Can you really trust autosaves? I don't know about you, but it doesn't really matter how many times the little icon spins around. I do not trust it. If I think I'm gonna die or I want to quit the game, I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna go in options, I'm gonna hit manual save, and sometimes I'm gonna do it more than once. Did that first time count? I don't know. Did I actually save it or not? Only one way to be sure. Do it again. I'm exaggerating a little, but we've all been in situations where autosaves have let us down. Like sometimes you get loaded like an hour or two back and have to redo a ton of crap that you'd already finished. And it maybe wasn't even hard, it's just a lot of stuff. Or maybe it was hard, I don't know. And then sometimes an autosave loads you into an unwinnable situation. I had this happen to me the first time I played A Plague Tale Innocence. The first time the rats were regrouping, I moved backwards and it autosaved it. And it kept loading me into a place where I was just getting eaten by rats automatically. That's probably the worst example of that I can remember in recent memory. Fortunately, I only lost like maybe a half hour of progress. Sometimes autosave just straight up fails, like the save file gets corrupted and you have to start the whole thing again. That hasn't happened to me in quite a while, but it has happened to me. I want to say the last time that actually happened to me was in the Xbox 360 early days, when I was just waiting for the damn thing to red ring. That eventually also happened, unrelated. And just to be clear, there's plenty of times where autosave is going to work just fine, but I consider the autosave the backup option. First thing I do when I get into a game is figure out how to save myself. And you better believe I'm doing it in every game, even games where it's ultimately pointless. I just don't trust an autosave alone. I've been burned too many times. And number 9 is the golden path. This one's for all you digital hoarders and achievement hunters out there. Most games try to make progression really obvious, but anyone who's played a game with some kind of like optional paths, you know what I mean. You can't trust a game when it comes to this stuff. There's a reason so many of us waffle back and forth when we come to a fork in the road in the game, because you just don't know which way leads to some optional treasure and which way is the path to progression. If you're the type of person who really likes to clear out an area before moving on, it's probably the most annoying thing about playing games, period. All you want to do is get all the treasures and collectibles in an area, but you go through a passage, it looks like it's an optional direction, but it's actually the main golden path. Like golden meaning the real one, I guess. So you turn around and head back. Ooh, guess you can't. There was a cave-in or something, and now you can't go back. Like, I just often want to explore, but a lot of games turn this stuff into kind of a Russian roulette situation. One wrong turn and bam, you can't go back. Usually these games, you can eventually return and get the stuff you missed, but most of the time you've forgotten about it or don't need it anymore. So if you do, you got to clear out the whole area again, and that is seriously annoying. Unless a game literally draws a line on the ground and is like, this is the story direction. Once you go this way, you're stuck this way. Unless it does that, you're not able to really trust this type of a branch. And number 8, a single treasure chest in an otherwise empty room. Everybody's like, oh yeah, you know what I'm talking about here. You're walking around, minding your own business. You entered a strangely large room and, oh, look at that. A treasure chest right in the middle. Don't mind if I do. Oh, no. Oh, look at that. There was a big one-eyed spider or some crap on the ceiling waiting to pounce. That treasure chest was bait. How could I have known? Or like a bunch of little enemies come running in and swarm me. Or, hey, the chest itself was alive. It was just waiting for prey. Whatever it is, you saw it coming because nobody trusts the big empty room in a single player game. The whole thing gives itself away. Why would there be that much space in there? It's so a big enemy can drop on top of you or so you can have a bunch of room to maneuver. Honestly, any overly spacious room is immediately suspicious, but it's doubly so when there's some treasure in it. The Dark Souls games love this trick, but there's a ton of other games that pull this same thing on you. Gamers are pretty savvy to this at this point though, but even when you see it coming and you try to prepare, the game can get you pretty unaware, if only because you're not ready for the type of ambush the game is planning to throw at you. Sometimes even when you know something's coming, it can still mess with your nerves, and that anticipation can even cause you to make mistakes when it does happen. They're the worst kind of traps because you see them coming from a mile away and they still get you. Like if I were making a game, I would just start putting big rooms with treasure chests that are entirely legitimate without a trap in them, just to mess with the player. And then after like 5 or 6 of them, where it seems like the boss thing isn't gonna happen, make it happen. That'd be great. Maybe not for the player. I'd probably get pretty angry at myself. I get why they do it. It sounds like it's fun, actually. And number 7 is dead bodies in a horror game. If you've played one horror game, at least relative to this, you've played them all. You know how it goes. There's a room with some dead bodies in it, but it's otherwise empty. Guess it's safe. Better not expect the dead bodies to actually be zombies or, oh, look at that. Oh, the dead body woke up and he's chomping on me. I didn't want this to happen at all. Yeah, this is why everybody just shoots corpses in games. And it's also why the Dead Space stomp is so satisfying, because you know they're gonna stay down. Like sometimes you do find a body that's actually literally dead, but most of the time, for whatever reason, it seems like you go in a room, there's some dead bodies, they have something to them. It can be worse too. Like some games make it so that shooting the dead doesn't work. They don't react, but when you come close, they still pop up and try to nibble on you. That's the worst, because you know it's coming. You know that the game is going to throw the jump scare at you, and you really just don't want to deal with it, but you have to. It's one of the oldest tricks in the horror game book. And number 6 is dialogue options. You know the drill. You hover over a dialogue option, think it's going to make your character say one thing, and then the thing that comes out of their mouth is completely different. And don't tell me you don't remember this happening in Mass Effect. You choose an option, sounds like it's going to diffuse the situation, and then Shepard's like, "Ah, I hate you. Remember that flaming bag of dog crap on your doorstep last week? That was me. Ha ha!" That was always, in my opinion, the weirdest mission in Mass Effect. It's the flaming bag of dog crap one. Another pretty good example is L.A. Noire, where you pick the doubt option, and instead of going I don't know, Cole is like, "You're a liar, and I left a flaming bag of dog crap on your doorstep last week." Yeah, the only way you can avoid this sort of thing in games is when you know that every single time you pick something, it's exactly what you're going to say, like Fallout 3 in New Vegas. There's sometimes a little confusion about tone, but it's way better than the one-word descriptions you get in certain role-playing games. This is actually why people tend to take the most boring dialogue options in games, because they're afraid that your guy is going to have a mental breakdown and say something he regrets. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter that much, but if you're the type of person who really likes to role-play and make a character your own, this is really annoying. I just flat out don't trust vague dialogue choices. For whatever reason, it seems like they put people who don't understand social cues in charge of making those things. And number 5, the quote-unquote start of a level. All right, this one's a little more specific, but if you're playing a platforming game, like 9 times out of 10, you're missing a secret in a stage, specifically because it's behind the start of the level. You know the drill. Level starts, but instead of going right, you do the daring thing and go left. The screen scrolls a little bit, there's an extra life, or perhaps an energy tank, or perhaps a collectible that you couldn't have gotten anywhere else in the game unless you had the incredible foresight to go left. Mission starts just can't be trusted, because a lot of the time you're not at the literal beginning of the stage. It's actually more just off screen. From a logical standpoint, it makes no sense whatsoever, but as a game mechanic, sure, I guess it's fine. It kind of played out as a hiding spot, right? Once you realize that game developers love to hide stuff back there, you start to see it everywhere. It's not like a trick games will pull in every level, but you better believe that when I play a game with levels, I turn around right at the start and try to figure out if anything's there. The level start sign cannot be trusted. And number 4 is the final boss's health bar. That's it. I don't need to say anything else. I mean, I will, because it'd probably not really actually be that satisfying of a video if I just said, the final boss's health bar. That's it. Moving on. 3 walls. You know what I mean. Moving on. No. So I guess there's plenty of bosses that have health bars you can't trust, but you don't always see them coming. That being said, with the last boss, you know, like it's really rare the final boss has only one form. And even when the game goes out of its way to tell you, no, there's only one final boss fight here, we promise you. You know they're lying. There's always more. The first fight isn't the only one. There's going to be a cutscene and a transformation, and then there will be a second form, possibly even a third one. And sometimes that's not so bad. It's fun to fight the final boss in phases. It creates a great crescendo to an otherwise long journey. But sometimes it can really suck because the boss is just tough for no good reason. When you barely manage to scrape by and that health bar goes all the way down to 0, the back of your mind kind of like breathes a sigh of relief, even though intellectually you know it's not over. But we're all sort of just like, oh, it's down at 0. That means it's done internally. Now, what's nice is sometimes the game throws you a bone and restores your health, but most of the time you're stuck with the resources you got. And you know, it doesn't even matter if the boss is hard or easy or completely fair. No one trusts the first health bar. There's gonna be more. It's guaranteed. And number 3 is walls. Is there anything more untrustworthy in video games than the humble wall? If a developer wants to hide a secret somewhere, the wall is the go-to option. You can whip them, you can bomb them, sometimes you can just push them. But everybody knows there's stuff hidden behind walls in games. And that is why I attack every single wall I see. Slam my face in them using the use button or key. I bomb everything. I probably look like a total psycho to all the NPCs. But you know what? This is a weirdly empty room. I find it hard to believe that this is just a dead end. I'm gonna figure this out. Of course, those are just obvious fake walls. Games love to hide secrets in totally innocuous random walls too, so really no wall is safe. In video games, walls are everywhere. They surround you at all times, and they can never be trusted because they're the easiest thing to hide secrets behind. And number 2 is the mysterious new bad guy. Now, this is more of a story thing than a gameplay thing, but it's a single-player gamer thing that nobody trusts. Like sometimes a long-running series likes to mix things up and introduce a shocking new bad guy. Their face is covered, sometimes they look nothing like you would expect, but it doesn't matter. The developers can swear up and down in interviews this bad guy's completely new. Something totally different that you've never seen before. I guarantee it. Would I lie? And everybody's like, yes, you would lie. You have lied. You've done it before. And like, so let's talk about some real obvious twists here, like Devil May Cry 5 or Mega Man 6. Both Capcom games, both not really particularly hidden twists. Second, that first trailer from DMC5 went up, people assumed the bad guy was actually Virgil. And it was. Mega Man 6 had the laughably obvious Mr. X as the bad guy, but Mr. X was Dr. Wily the whole time. Probably one of the most infamous examples of this was Batman Arkham Knight, where Rocksteady was like, yeah, we made a completely new character. Bask in the mystery that is the Arkham Knight. You'll never, ever, ever know who it is because every guess will be wrong because it's a new person. Don't even try it because it is not a person from before at all. And then it was Jason Todd, the Red Hood, who everybody who knows even a tiny bit about Batman assumed he would be. It was such an obvious choice. A lot of people assumed it wouldn't be because they wouldn't make a mysterious new bad guy that would be that obvious, right? Except they did. These are just some of the more obvious examples, but games do this all the time. Like, I guess certain developers just really like putting twists into their games, no matter how visible they are from a mile away. If a game developer ever gives an interview saying that the bad guy is totally new, you will never believe who it is. You've never seen anything like this before. It's 100% the truth. Don't believe them. It's pretty much fake. And number 1, random number generators, or RNGs as many call them. They're how every game handles randomness. When you want to get rare loot, or you want to get a hit or a win in roulette, critical hits, etc., it's up to the RNG. So how come I've got a 50-50 chance to hit here, but it took me 12 tries? What's the deal with that, random number generator? Anyone who's played XCOM has been in this scenario. You got a 95% chance to hit. Somehow you missed like 3 times in a row. And it's like, what? Then it tells tells you the enemy's got a 5% chance to hit and they hit you every time. Or like, try to go for rare loot in a game like Destiny 2 or Monster Hunter, and you know the pain of an RNG. The odds don't sound that bad, but for some reason you had to grind for hours to get something that, after some small calculations, you figured would take like 20, maybe 40 minutes to get. That is the evil power of the random number generator. And it's not necessarily lying to you, except for, you know, when it is. Like, here's the fun part about it. These games don't actually have true randomness. They tie the RNG system with something else internally. That's the reason why speedrunners are able to make seemingly random things happen, because those things affect the outcome of the game's random number generator. If you know how to manipulate it, it's pretty great, but for most of us who can't see the matrix, it just means a lot of the time the randomness is actually worse and makes the game sound horrible. Of course, XCOM and games like that actually do go out of their way to help you on lower difficulty levels by secretly increasing your chances to hit if you miss a shot and stuff like that, but it can still feel like the RNG is working against you if you miss enough. And it might be, to be frank. Sometimes our distrust of RNGs is maybe personal bias, and maybe there's nothing actually wrong with the game and it's being completely honest with you. But that doesn't matter. We've all had to deal with RNG in some form in games, and I think it's safe to say that basically everybody's been burnt by it somehow. If you're a gamer, you're not going to trust RNGs. Doesn't matter how good your chances are, because when the chips are down, you really need that perfect shot. That's the time you got to remember, you can't beat the house. And if you know the house is cheating, it's very unlikely you can prove it. Also, good luck with the legal battle if you think that that's a good idea. Suing the casino because you think you won a few grand on blackjack ain't gonna work out your way. I promise you. And that's all for today. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable all notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter @FalconTheHero, and we'll see you next time right here on GameRanks.